Keeping an eye on that, but it's heading right toward Ackerley right now and along much of Texas 137 and Highway 87. This is continuing to push its way farther and farther south, heading toward Big Spring. So if you are in any of those areas, make sure you are taking cover immediately. We are looking at large-scale severe weather pushing into the region. Latest from the National Weather Service shows severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located 8 miles northwest of Ackerley, and it's moving southeast at about 35 miles an hour. So it's actually picking up a little bit more speed, which is going to be pretty good. We want storms to move through quickly. That way they can have very little localized impact. Lamesa was not spared so much because that storm itself was very slow moving. It took about 45 minutes for that tornado to entirely move out, and by the time it did, flash flood warning. Lots of very heavy rainfall across the majority of the region. We're also looking at about radar indicated rotation and 2-inch in diameter hail. So pretty large scale hail as well. You expect a lot of damage to anything without shelter, yourself included. We want to make sure you guys are staying safe. Go indoors immediately. We are also looking at this being around Ackerley by around 6:55 p.m. So let me actually zoom back up so you can see where that is. A lot of that purple there. Let's see exactly where the worst of that hail is. It looks to be right along Highway 87, South Highway 87 near Sparrenburg. I believe, if I'm saying that correct, Sparrenburg. Sorry if I'm butchering little town names. Nonetheless, take cover immediately. You want to make sure that you are staying on top of a lot of this stuff. There's been a lot of action all throughout the day today, and that's going to continue as we head into the later parts of this evening. Multiple severe storms with this one warned system. It is not stopping anytime soon. Storm chasers are still trying really hard to find out where exactly the storm is because there's so much rain, there's so much hail, it's hard to actually get a good visualization. On top of it, it's very, very dark. So even if you can see an active storm, it's not going to pop up as clear as day, which is unfortunate and can be very, very dangerous. Latest on the hail sizes. Yikes, look at the hail with this storm. Anything in more of that purple hue, kind of like purple to pink hue, that's going to be about the size of a tennis ball. Anything in that red, not the red box, but I'm actually talking about this couple little red dots on the south side of town and up on the north side of town, that is more along the lines of apple-sized hail, about 3 inches in diameter. So already looking at a little bit of hail trying to push its way into Ackerley. Right now going to be about pea-sized hail, nothing too significant immediately, but of course a lot of that can change rather quickly. As we continue into the later part of tonight, we are continually expecting more and more active severe weather. Unfortunately, it's not going to go away as quickly as what we've seen in the past. So let's go back to the main bread and butter. We're looking at a strong frontal system pushing its way through from the panhandle. On top of it, we have our dry line just out to the west. And well, we are back with more and more of those storms across the region. They're not going to be changing anytime soon. Severe thunderstorm watch that is going to be staying in effect for the majority of the region for an extended length of time as well. Notice severe thunderstorm watch for Carlsbad, Hobbs, Midland, and I clicked the wrong thing. Excuse me for a minute. We are going to continue to see that threat until about 11 o'clock tonight, and unfortunately, that is going to affect about a little under 500,000 people, and that's just within our region alone. Beyond that, we're continuing to see more and more of these storms popping up as we go into the afternoon because there is just the right amount of fuel in the atmosphere for a lot of this. Dew points are pointing toward those upper 50s, lower 60s. That's the temperature at which dew will form, and it's more so correlated with like afternoon or like early morning lows. Now, this is a little bit more than those early morning lows. Those are going to be sticking around a lot of moisture. So you see a lot of cloud cover, a lot of rain nearby. That's what this means. All right, main look at the radar, just a lot going on here in general. I want to start from the bottom and move up to the top because a lot of you guys have been sending in some videos and pictures out in New Mexico. Carlsbad earlier today saw a lot of land spouts. So we already knew that there was going to be rotation potential within these storms. Now, land spouts are going to be much smaller than actual tornadoes. There might be a little bit stronger than, say, a dust devil, but they're not actually hooked up with a funnel and they don't cause extreme destructive damage. No, that's what the tornadoes do. So zooming in a little bit more down toward the Stockton Plateau, that's where we've been seeing a lot of these little storms trying to get the somewhat of a severe status. Unfortunately, they are just not that, fortunately, they are just not that strong. Heading up toward Andrews and Seminole. Seminole, you guys are getting heavy rainfall right now across much of the region. We've been seeing all kinds of stuff. These are actually the storms that spawned that land spout, a couple land spouts earlier today. I see we have that video ready to go. Can we play out that video of one of the land spouts? This is courtesy from Wendell Malone with Ham Radio. He was out there storm chasing earlier. People have been sending in some pictures of some of those land spouts. They look pretty nasty. It's certainly a more advanced dust devil. That is going to be the case for a lot of what we saw earlier today. Now we're into that stronger tornado kind of category. So very strong, pretty destructive as well. And, well, unfortunately, we are looking at this heading towards Big Spring. Now, the Big Spring is not under any kind of direct warning right now, but the northern parts of Howard County are going to be under this warning. It is in effect until 7:15, so, hey, I got about 14 more minutes, so you only have to listen to my voice for a little bit longer. Don't worry, I'm just trying to keep you guys safe, keep you updated with the latest. I also want to show you a little bit of that rotation too. We've been noticing some pretty strong rotation across the area, and, well, actually, let's go ahead and pause it once it hits its loop. Notice how quick and how bright a lot of that green is right near Ackerley. Most tornadoes, they're going to need both green and red on there. The green means it's heading towards the radar. Let me head it towards you and then away from you. When you have both of those going in the same direction, side by side, you get actual rotation. Hope that visualization helps. Nonetheless, we're still looking at some very strong, even just straight line winds, because within the tornado warning itself, they're issuing 70 to 80 mile per hour wind gusts. So that's as fast as we drive on the highway. Although I think we drive a little bit faster than that on the highway. That is going to cause some damage. That's going to knock over some power lines, possibly knock over some tree branches and even smaller sized trees. It could throw any kind of debris around the area. So if you are not under any kind of severe warning right now and you haven't done so already, bring in any loose items that you have on your porch, whether it's potted plants, maybe some lawn chairs. Remember, we've seen a number of trampolines too go airborne, and that's not something that really should be in the air. It's you on the trampoline that should be going up, not the trampoline itself. We want to make sure you're staying safe, and that includes securing any kind of loose objects or just bringing them inside. We want to make sure that none of that ends up flying towards someone's car, someone's house. We want to avoid any unnecessary kind of damage. All right, it looks a little bit messy on velocity, and that's going to be the case. But I do want to point out how we are with a lot of this stuff. Let's actually go ahead and look at our tech stock camera overlooking Big Spring, because Big Spring is seeing not a whole lot right now. It just looks a little bit ominous. Notice out to the right-hand corner of it, we're really just not seeing a whole lot of activity. It just looks pretty cloudy overall. There hasn't been a whole lot in terms of significant activity. So we're going to continue to keep our eye on a lot of this stuff as the afternoon and the evening commences. But hey, it looks menacing. I'm just not seeing any large-scale impacts from it. All right, let's actually jump back here. I want to show you the camera angle that we have from our studio. Big Spring still just looking relatively ominous. I'm not seeing Big Spring under that tornado warning right now, but if the tornado continues, Big Spring will likely get affected by it. So make sure that if you haven't done so already, bring inside any of those loose items. I do not want to see any kind of debris flying across our cameras. That could really hurt people. We want to make sure that everyone is staying safe. That is entirely my job out here. But that risk is still going to be in effect for much of the area. All right. Let's jump right into that SPC once again. Unfortunately, this looks very similar to the setup we had just about a year ago when we had that mile-wide tornado hit Midland. Now, we can't tell based on radar or based on velocity how big the tornado is. And of course, considering it's kind of going warned, not warned, warned, it seems to be a relatively weaker storm, which is good. And you know what? We'll take what we can get. So here's that severe risk for the rest of tonight. Level 3 enhanced risk, mainly for Big Spring, for Snyder, Lamesa, in the eastern edges of Midland and even Andrews counties. But let's break it down one by one here. What do these risks entail? Tornado risk for your Thursday. 5% chance of those tornadoes, mainly north of Interstate 20. That's the only place we've actually seen any kind of tornadic activity right now. But then you throw in not just the tornado risk, that's going to be the biggest concern, but also some really strong winds. With that storm in Lamesa, we were tracking about 80-mile-per-hour wind gusts. That is going with that 30% chance of us seeing 60+ mile-per-hour wind gusts. What is that black dashed line? So we call our hashed risk. It means significantly severe, which means you could see those wind gusts surpassing 70 to 80 miles an hour. We've already seen it, so far the forecast is panning out. We're also looking at some large-sized hail. So the percentages are to represent the chance of you getting 1-inch diameter hail or bigger. All right, but the dashed line means 2-inch diameter hail, so about the size of a tennis ball. The last thing you want is to have something like that unprepared. You want to make sure you're staying away from those windows. You want to make sure you're staying safe. Because what does the SPC outlook really mean? Let's go ahead and take this full screen. That enhanced thing means numerous storms, few tornadoes, potentially up to an EF2. We can see those damaging winds. We can see large hail about 2.5 inches in diameter. And we can also see more persistent and more widespread storms. A few intense storms are likely, which, I mean, do you really need me to say it? It's going to be this storm that we are watching right now. That's going to be one of the stronger ones. All right, but let's talk about exactly what we're looking at for that hail. Latest warning from the National Weather Service, still 80 mile per hour wind gusts, baseball-sized hail, and that is right on top of Ackerley. We're going to keep our eye on that. I'm still getting consistent updates. My watch is continuing to buzz, so I'm here for you. I'm here to keep you safe until that entire storm has passed. Latest from that, it is a life-threatening situation. Seek shelter immediately. We got baseball hail, 80 mile per hour winds. What is causing all of that hail though? Well, it all has to do with what we call updrafts. Updrafts are what fuel a lot of those storms. You're going to need at least 80 mile per hour updrafts for that to actually get the storm to have hail that size. Considering we're already getting about 80 mile per hour wind gusts within the storm, it's kind of right on par, but it's also nearing the limit of how strong thunderstorms can be. We've noticed this a lot lately. Austin, Texas was one of the great examples of just how strong a storm can be before it hits the limits of what a thunderstorm can be. And well, yeah, unfortunately, we tend to get some of the stronger storms across the world in Texas. Well, we do tend to see a lot more tornadoes than anyone else as well. Not the most important thing to be proud of, but that's where we are. All right, I'm going to jump back over into the watches and warnings. Here we go. We got a lot of those severe thunderstorm watches. That's in effect for much of the region until 11 o'clock tonight. We still have that active tornado warning for much of Howard County. pushing its way a little bit closer toward Big Spring. Latest from some of the storm chasers, it's still just very heavy rainfall across the area. I'm not looking at anything too crazy. So we'll see if National Weather Service goes ahead and allows this entire warning to expire or not. Nonetheless, if you are not in a warning area, it still doesn't mean it's completely safe. I'm looking at some pretty strong storms trying to push their way into the Permian Basin. Notice Monahans, Penwell, even West Odessa starting to see the chance for a little bit of thunderstorm activity. Yeah, look at that. A little bit of lightning right around Goldsmith, north of Penwell. Not a whole lot of stuff going on. But you go just slightly farther north, Seminole, Andrews, a decent sized squall line passing through, lots of lightning, no significant hail. Okay, we'll take that, but we're still looking at just this very strong storm. We got two individual different directions that these entire stories continue, or the entire storms continue pushing. Yeah, it's continuing to push a little bit to the east, but it's also moving a little bit to the south. So a little bit of that southeasterly flow, it could easily start to move its way into Big Spring as we head into the later part of this afternoon and evening. All right, we're going to continue staying on the air for the next 5 minutes until that tornado warning goes away. And as long as it expires, I will send you guys back to your regular programming. But if it continues to stay on, we will stay there for you. And hey, if you want to continue to watch for any more local storm updates, we are going to continue this live stream on our app, 9 Plus. Make sure that you can download that if you can, because we're here to keep you safe. We want to make sure everyone is good to go. Here's the latest without all of the mess on the radar, the latest look at that storm. Still some decent pink and kind of purplish color. I'm not great with colors, unfortunately. On top of Ackerley, yep, we still have that severe thunderstorm warning associated with it, baseball-sized hail, and it's starting to look pretty ominous as you head a little bit farther out toward Big Spring. Let's pull up that TxDOT camera once again overlooking the highway. It's Interstate 20, and it looks like State Highway 350. I can't really read all of that too well. It says Howard County. There's the storm. This system is actually looking a little bit out toward the west. So you look out to the right, looks pretty ominous, but traffic is moving as normal. There's no impacts across the area immediately right there, so that is certainly some good news. We're continuing to watch this entire storm as it pushes across the area. Let me get you the latest reading from the National Weather Service in regards to this entire storm. Well, I'm actually looking at nothing super crazy. Here is what we got. We got about 2-inch size hail within the tornado warning itself, and we're looking around Borden County, Martin County, Howard County, and Dawson County. It's kind of right on the four corners of a county in terms of what we can hit. So let's jump back over to radar just real quick. We could see just where that large hail core really is, sitting right on top of Ackerley. I'm not noticing a ton of that rotation, but let me actually see how big that hail might be. Radar itself picking up about, not really picking up hail so much, but about 13 inches per hour within a bit of that purplish pink tone. So if this storm doesn't move very quickly, we are going to continue to see some pretty heavy rainfall leading to some localized flash flooding. I would not be surprised if we got a flash flood warning popped on this after that storm has passed. But it's still continuing to strengthen despite the fact that we have just a whole mess of storms all combining into one. This is where the majority of our area will see some of the heavier storms. It's going to be mainly localized toward about Snyder, out toward even Garden City. We could see a little bit of action from some of these storms down farther south, out toward Odessa and toward Midland, but nothing too crazy beyond that. So these are going to be the areas we're going to continue to watch throughout the afternoon and into the evening. I say afternoon, it's afternoon for me. I know it's 7 o'clock for the rest of the world. Nonetheless, we are keeping our eye on this system. Latest reading from the National Weather Service in regards to that actual severe thunderstorm warning. So once the tornado warning expires, you still have that severe thunderstorm right on top of Ackerley and just to the east of Lenora, just to the north of Big Spring. Here it is, 80-mile-per-hour wind gusts, baseball-sized hail, radar indicated. Flying debris is going to be dangerous to those caught without shelter. Mobile homes will be heavily damaged. Expect considerable damage to roofs, windows, and vehicles. Extensive tree damage and power outages are likely. Ryan, would you be able to pull up anything in terms of potential power outages, maybe an ERCOT map, and just let me know if you are able to get something like that. I would love that. Awesome. In the meantime, while they're pulling that up, you want to make sure for your protection, move to an interior room on the lowest floor of a building. The storm is producing destructive winds and very large damaging hail. Seek shelter inside a sturdy structure and stay away from windows. This is a dangerous storm capable of producing large hail driven by severe winds. If you guys recall, about a year ago in Midland, when we had that tornado, we actually did see that large size hail that was about tennis ball to baseball size get blown by a lot of that wind itself. All right, it looks like that tornado warning itself has been allowed to expire, so we are going to continue that coverage on our app and on social media, so go ahead and jump over to that. I will let regular programming take over, but we're going to continue streaming that really for the next about 10 minutes. I'm just going to keep on talking in the meantime. Torrential rainfall is coming with the storm. It could lead to flash flooding. Do not drive your vehicle through flooded roadways. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and toss it out real quick. We're going to take a quick look at that Skycam over Big Spring. We are going to continue back on our app. Stay with us for the latest. Hey, welcome back everyone. I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Frazier. We're continuing to watch this severe warning storm heading toward Big Spring. The tornado warning on that storm has expired, which is good, but I'm still looking at a little bit of that rotation too. Now this is more broad scale rotation associated with a supercell, so we're watching that as well. Now that severe thunderstorm warning is in effect for the next 12 minutes, but considering how strong that storm is, they're likely going to allow it to continue a little bit as it continues to push a little bit farther south. Looks like they actually allowed that warning to expire for the northern counties, but they're still keeping it in effect for much of Howard County and even a little bit of Martin County. I believe I'm not super great with counties, I'm sorry. Nonetheless, here we go. 2-inch hail. Looks like they downgraded it. So this is really good news, guys. Really good news. 2-inch diameter hail, 70-mile-per-hour winds, and it looks to be picking up speed a little bit, moving southeast at about 45 miles per hour. So that is a lot better off than what we saw just a little bit ago. Here's the latest from the actual radar looping itself. We're going to go ahead and pause it. You can still see some decent sized hail now just south of Ackerley, kind of along Highway 87. That's going to continue pushing its way a little bit farther and farther south, pushing its way into Big Spring. We're going to be keeping our eye on it because the hail itself, I'm getting some pretty impressive hail numbers from what the radar is even able to pick up on its own. Yeah, that hail is kicking up to about tennis ball sized, and that's going to continue pushing a little bit farther south. So if you're not in the warning, it doesn't mean you're completely in the clear just yet. Unfortunately, it means there's still some storms nearby, just not enough that it's super dangerous to be outside. So here's my suggestion. If you are nearby a severe thunderstorm, you haven't done so already, make sure that you are bringing in any loose items from inside. The last thing I want to see on any of my cameras is trampolines, debris, a lot of like preventable things like lawn chairs. Make sure to just bring them inside. Potted plants. I don't want to see any of that stuff flying around. And I know who to go to in case I see that. No, I just want to make sure you guys are safe. Here we go. A lot of that hail that I'm seeing falling just to the west of Ackerley, it's kind of that pinkish hue. That pinkish hue is representative of about tennis ball sized hail, about 2 inches in diameter. We're continuing to watch that, and not a whole lot outside, but even if I zoom out a bit, still not a whole lot of significant hail anywhere else other than where we're seeing some of those stronger storms. Near Seminole, a little bit of gray right around Hobbs, right around Denver City, even just to the north of Andrews, even near Eunice. We're still seeing just some small sized hail, maybe about pea-sized, maybe about the size of a penny. Not enough for any kind of severe status, but still enough to have us keep an eye on it in the meantime. Latest from the National Weather Service, they are, actually this is coming from the Seminole Fire Department. Monitoring Lamesa fire and law enforcement radio channels, multiple reports of telephone poles down, and just got confirmed of a parked semi-truck turned over. Wow. So even without the tornado, there was no tornado in Seminole, but there was some actual destruction a little bit. And you know what? We can continue to see 200 power outages in Lamesa right now. This is the latest looking at ERCOT. Still some heavy storms across the region. We're continuing to see it. Active outages about 81, 644 affected customers. So a couple of you guys might be losing power. Luckily, it looks like emergency management is on top of it for the time being. They're continuing to try to make any responses. Looks like Red Cross is even out there as well. Red Cross continuing to watch out for anything like that. Nothing new in terms of that tornado warning. That tornado warning has been allowed to expire. Nothing super crazy, but I do want to emphasize that even if it's not super crazy, still doesn't mean that we can't see some pretty strong storms. Latest on that storm, now Big Spring is under that severe thunderstorm warning. We're going to keep keeping our eye on that. Latest from it, still about 2-inch sized hail, 70-mile-per-hour wind gusts. So excuse me, it's going to be a pretty strong storm still. You're going to notice a couple of damages around the area. Maybe some loose panels on your roof, maybe some broken windows. If you have time, now is going to be the time. Move your car into a garage, maybe into a covered parking space if you have one, and make sure that you are bringing in not just, your friends, your family, brother, sister, also your pets. Make sure that they have some kind of a sturdy shelter to be in as this storm continues. A little bit of lightning is being reported as well. That's going to be kind of looking out toward Interstate 20 in Howard County. Lot of activity out to the right now. Whew. Certainly a strong storm pushing its way through the region. This new severe warning is in effect until 8:15 p.m. Central Daylight Time. We're going to continue on the stream for about another minute and a half or so. I'll be keeping you updated on social media with the latest on that. We can even go ahead and pop up our own Skycam to see what Big Spring is looking like. Actually, not near as ominous. It looks like our director has that better camera angle here. Actually, give me a moment. Let's see if I can maybe move that camera around and see if there's any kind of better view I can get for that entire system. In terms of actual active weather, we're going to continue to see some more active storms as the afternoon and evening progresses. Unfortunately, I can't move my camera right now, but we do have a number